Hi, and welcome to the Facebook Ad Kingdom podcast. Here we tackle some of the biggest questions surrounding Facebook ads, econ businesses, entrepreneurship products, and so much more. And we also don't
Curse.
we don't
So
curse.
it's kosher.
What's even the point? So I'm your host, Morty Rapp, and with me is my co-host and my boss, and an amazing guy, and a very smart one, Azriel Rats, founder of Rats Pack Media. Today's topic is retention. Retention. This is an extremely important topic. To anyone who has an econ brand, you get that customer once. That's already a lot of work. How do we get them back again and again and again? Let's start with the first question, Azriel. Why the heck is retention so important?
So you actually hinted to it already, which is, let's just define retention. Retention means you've already gotten someone to purchase from you. How do we get them to become a loyal purchaser in the future? So across the board, in general, I would say that costs for advertising have increased for any medium. Doesn't matter. The Super Bowl commercial, all the way down to the magazine, Google ads. The cost to advertise is way more expensive than it's ever been. Getting in front of users is way harder than it's ever been. Organic reach is very, very low. Email open rates are lower than they've ever been in history. So essentially, in order to get purchases, you have to do way more all the time across the board for any medium. With that in mind, if I had to choose between getting someone to buy a second time or a third or fourth or fifth time from me versus someone who's never heard of me, the cost of that brand new person is way more. And it's understandable why that would be. This person doesn't know you and doesn't trust you and doesn't know what the product feels like. And he doesn't know who other people that have bought from you. And he doesn't maybe even know your content yet. So you have to spend all of this money for education on that user to teach them why they should care about your brand, what makes you different, what products you even have to sell. And then only at that point can that person actually be willing to pull their credit card out, swipe it, and pay you money. So you just spent an enormous amount of money, potentially the most amount of money, to get that user to become someone who buys from you. But at that point, assuming you have a product that people want to buy again, which I've seen businesses that are basically only alive to find the next person because they've tricked the first person to buy from you, and it does exist still.
Yep.
If assuming the product is good enough that someone would want it again, to now have to pay for that person to be re-educated is a much lower barrier to entry. They already know you. They've bought from you before. They already trusted you enough the first time to give you their credit card. There's already like that habit forming, thing that's occurred. I think I even read this in Dan Ariely book, was comparing someone who normally buys from either Dunkin' or Starbucks. And then they have this pattern that already exists. So the hump of just getting them to buy one time at the other store is enormous. But at that point, like, oh, I just did that yesterday. So it like all of a sudden becomes like somewhat normal just the first time. So you've already gone through the hump of the majority of the work. At this point, that extra push to get that user to buy a second time is so substantially lower that it's a no-brainer as far as where I would spend my money. Like if I could choose, right? If I had to choose between only ever finding new customers all the time or only ever reselling to the same buyers, the cost per purchase overall will be significantly lower for that user. Now, obviously, you have to have enough users to make that choice. You only had 3 people, and then you can only resell to those 3 people. That won't work in the long term. But assuming you've built this list of people, they bought from you before, they trusted you last summer season or last baby they bought the product from or last time they went and bought coffee, at that stage, I would choose to spend the focus on the previous purchaser rather than the brand new purchaser. So that's the top level why I should even be considering thinking about retention as a company. If I need to allocate money, where would I put money first?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is in people that have already put their trust in me to get them to come back and buy again.
Right. Assuming that you have a product and a system in place that could support that. I
Well,
imagine I
that's what we're
imagine
talking
if
about
you
on this talk is
somehow
what does that system in place mean?
well, I guess let's go into this concept of strategy and execution. We understand why retention is important, and obviously it really ranges from cheap products to more expensive products, and I imagine there's a lot to talk about. So, what are some of the basic strategies that you've seen in terms of retention at work?
Okay, so the first thing to know is that the best time to get someone to buy from you a second time is immediately after they purchased the first time. They already have that level of trust enough that moments ago they gave their credit card. So now, how do I get them to take that action again? So Russell Brunson really like with Unbounce, sorry, not with Unbounce, with ClickFunnels, he basically created a system that allowed you to collect a credit card now, and then immediately after collecting the credit card and charging them, sending them to a page that asks them to charge the card a second time. And what's a little crazy to me is that there isn't really a good way to do this on like a Shopify or an Unbounce or something. You have to re-put in your credit card. So the user has just put their credit card in. They've
Jeez.
already successfully ordered. They're on the thank you page on Shopify. And I want them to take another action. So for Shopify, I have to resend them back to the cart page, have them re-input their information. Hopefully, with like ShopPay or PayPal or something, they've saved it. So it's a little bit faster the second time.
Right.
But it's a little annoying versus Unbounce. So again, I got it wrong. Versus ClickFunnels, that's literally just an additional one click. Okay, we've charged you for that too. Oh, we've charged that for that you for that too. So it's like much nicer. There are obviously issues with holding credit card numbers for longer, and that involved in security. So that's why Shopify doesn't do that. But that is a plus for many of these tools. But essentially, what businesses forget about is like that thank you page right after the order is complete is
Mm,
literally the best time to say, hey, you want to buy something else? As crazy as it sounds.
that does
Amazon
sound
does
crazy.
this all the time. They have on the thank you page, like, here's other things like that thing you just bought. Because the person, they're in a buying spirit. They literally just bought. They just finished buying. So,
Right.
so this is a great place to offer a potentially like a discount you wouldn't typically give to users,
Hmm. Hmm.
but you know that these people are the best people to buy. So essentially count that as like marketing budget is that discount that you're giving them to impulsively buy again. So I think I saw this. I want to say I saw this on Jambies, but I don't actually know. Jambies like a really great like pajama brand. So it's like leisure clothing versus like athleisure. It's literally just leisure, like comfy sweatshirts, comfy boxers, stuff like that.
Right.
And
Flannel
if I remember
pajamas. Yeah.
correctly, you buy from them, and then the minute you finish buying, they say, "Hey, as part of our program, you've gotten some number of points." And based on your now that you have these 20, 30 points, you could go and redeem them on the store right now for product. Maybe you get like a free pair of socks or something with it. And so that's like a really great, powerful way to get the
Right.
users to come back is immediately upon the time when they've, purchased is have an upsell both on the thank you page and in an email.
And does that fall under retention? Meaning that moment
Yeah.
after purchase, checkout is complete, registered. It's now being, fulfillment is taking care of it. There's that, whatever, another 10 minutes, let's say, of user on site engagement. We categorize that as retention.
Yes, it's a second purchase. They've completed their first purchase. Now they've shifted into the second purchase activity
Hmm.
versus anything that might happen before, right? I think we even might have discussed this on a previous podcast. Putting suggested products in the cart. So they added a product to the cart. They put a pair of shoes in. Oh, the matching hat. Oh, the matching shirt. You get the jersey. Get the matching pants. You get So that's stuff. That's ways to increase average cart before the purchase. We're talking about come back and buy again. But just
Right.
like you could do it on the website, you could do it in the box, right? So the
Hmm.
user
Hmm.
just got the product for the first time. Now they actually get to feel, touch, and hold it, and now can decide maybe I want to buy again. Maybe at that point in the box, including some special discount or bundle or
Hmm.
something in the box, is another really great time
Right.
for the user to come back to the site. The problem is that it's not necessarily true that 10 days later when the box arrives in the mail that they're
Right.
still in that same mindset of purchase. Like the time for
Right.
purchase was when it happened on the site. To me, that's already like a level down. It's already a second level compared to that first step, like right after the purchase, there's a
Correct.
place to get someone to buy, or maybe even a gift card for someone else, right? Like just whatever it is to get that, keep the momentum going on
Right.
that stage. In the box is another opportunity to get users to come back and buy again. So
So like that classic statement that time is a killer of all deals. As time goes on from initial purchase, obviously the potential of retention lowers day by day by day.
a hundred
So
percent.
how do people tackle that? How do they get the 1 month later, 2 month later, 3 month later purchases?
So that's going to happen most likely on a series of emails. So once you've once you've done the job of selling a person to buy from you, you need to make sure that they think about you the second time. Like a lot of people forget about this. Like you imagine in almost any space, let's say Facebook ads, right? It happens a lot where I'll meet someone that's an owner of a business and we'll sit and we'll chat, we'll have a really great conversation. But at the moment, they weren't interested in Facebook ads. So now it's 5 months later and they're interested in Facebook ads. They most likely won't come back to me that they met 5 months ago. They'll go back to the person they just recently discussed Facebook ads with, which that person might not have as much experience. That person might be more expensive. That person might not, whatever the reasons are where they might not use that person. But the recency of having met that person
Mm-hmm.
means that they're more likely to come to them versus me. So how do I keep myself top of mind over that period from the moment they met me to a year
Right.
from now when they want to actually buy from me? Now, this isn't retention. This is just the funnel, right? This is before the first purchase happens.
Right.
So in order to do that, you have to keep showing up. And that's why we have a podcast. That's why businesses send emails. That's why you post on social media. It's all of that stuff just to keep top of mind. Oh, that's the Facebook guy. Right. I remember that's the guy. So you see my face and you think that's the Facebook guy. That's why we connect on LinkedIn. That's why, the you reply to people's posts that they post just to stay in their feed. The same
Right.
sort of thing can be done with an e-commerce business.
Right.
Making sure to post content constantly,
It
sending emails
actually
out regularly. Like as crazy as it sounds, I know of brands that send not once, not twice, but 3 times a day. They send 3 emails a day. They collect an email address and they are sending out every single day 3 times to every person that's ever purchased from them. I think because of the cost to send an email for a long time is expensive, maybe at some point, maybe like a year or two down the line, they'll stop. If you don't open, like if you haven't opened
right.
an email in, 27 emails, they might stop sending just to save some money. And then maybe once a year for Black Friday, you'll include those older emails that you have that didn't opt out. Opt out, you got to stop sending them emails. But a person that just isn't opening, it might be worth just sort of like cleaning up your email list every so often. That person stopped checking. But it is worth it for those big sale moments, the Black Friday, the Christmas, the
Right.
birthday or whatever, to include those people. But as crazy as it sounds, simply sending more emails a day or a week will significantly increase your purchases. Why? Because you're being kept top of mind. And so the user purchased from you 3, 4, 5 months ago. They really liked your t-shirts, your socks, your bottle of olive oil, and now they might not be in the moment of thinking about it today, but down the line in 3, 4 months when it comes up, like, I remember I bought that bottle of, let me just type olive oil into my email and see what happens. And you might end up finding that they find your most recent email from yesterday or today in their inbox. And that's what's going to be the reason for them to take that action to purchase.
Right.
But imagine if every time you wanted to do that, you had to get a whole new list of email addresses, right? Like you already built the email address list from the people that purchased from you in the past. So that's the reason to keep doing these things. And I think there was even a study done by I don't know which brand. I think it was True Classics, but I don't know. They just like doubled the number of emails. That's all they did. Like just double the number of emails, and they didn't significantly see a drop in like an increase in unsubscribes. They didn't see an increase in complaints, but they did see a very large increase in revenue from just doubling the number of emails they sent per week.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it actually leads me to this next question. You kind of touched on it, but it's almost it's an ephemeral kind of question. But this idea of relationship, we could view this entire thing within the concept of numbers, right? Numbers and percentages. But now, what's leaking into this as well is this idea of relationship. And all these touch points, they fall under that. How do you, in your opinion, how does relationships play an integral role in retention? Can you elaborate a little bit a bit on that? And
Yeah.
and then I'll
So
add another question on top of it. I want you to think about this one. How can someone turn negative relationships, bad experience, poor products, missed shipping, annoying emails? How does that opportunity create more retention?
yeah. So let's start with relationships. So obviously, the more you show interest in a user, the higher likelihood the person is going to want to buy from you. Like that, just that connection. If they had to choose between two stores, one they have no connection to and one they have a positive, they're most likely going to choose the positive. Like I was just talking to a store owner yesterday, which I suggested him not to do this, but early on, when you only have a couple of purchases, it's not like the most wild thing on earth, and it probably generates a ton of money. He literally went through the list of every person who abandoned cart and called them on the phone. Now,
Wow.
you can't do this when you make $48 million a year, but when you make $40,000 a year, that's a significant amount of money you could be making from doing that. And he
Right.
literally called them up. He's like, hey, we saw that you left that dress in your cart. Can I give you 10% off right now and you'll buy it? Make a code for you right this second on the phone. Like send it up, send it in an email, or even better, you give me your credit card right now. I'll just charge your card for you right now. And so that probably will get a lot of sales, right? Like you could imagine like that. It's a little wild, but it probably works. It worked. He wouldn't still be doing it all these years later if it didn't work. But I would first probably set up an automated email first. Like that would be my first step. I probably wouldn't jump immediately to call the 200 people that left products in cart. But there is a benefit to building a relationship. The question is like, how do you really feel? How does the customer really feel that I'm more than just like a number to these people? And so there's a bunch of different ways that a bunch of different companies do a relatively good job at approaching it. So the first one we already mentioned is Jambies. They do like a point system. And so the first thing they'll do is you buy, much like miles. You fly on the plane, we give you miles, right? But then there's like, hey, refer a friend, we'll give you some points. Or there'll be like days where you get double points. And so they can actually leverage the points, which connect directly to free products essentially, to building the relationship. Like literally the actions you take to build a relationship as the customer, you get more points. And then that allows you to buy more stuff for free. So that's the easy thing to do. There obviously is like the much more complicated. I remember Kith, Kith. I don't know nearly enough about this like luxury clothing brand, but essentially they've been around for like 15 years or so. They announced, if I remember correctly, maybe it was about 6 to 8 months ago, a crazy loyalty program where they announced these tiers for the first time. And they went back to all 15 years of data from the customer. So if a person bought 11 years ago some product, they get benefit now to be in the gold or the diamond or the platinum status
That's fantastic.
for the purchasing. And being in those tiers gets you stuff like exclusive drops or discounts on purchases or something like that. And it didn't require the user to buy, to pay for a membership. This was just previous purchases allowed you to be in these stages. Like I'll tell you right now, I've been flying a lot to America and I'm in like just shy of diamond status for LO because they're the only ones that are flying right now to where I need to go. But being on that level means a free upgrade every once in a while. It won't happen all the time, but every once in a while. A discount on points or an increase in value of points or something like that. And so that's obviously very sophisticated. They built it all in house. How exactly they did this, I don't think there's like some easy tool that does that right now. But they thought about, our best users who buy from us more than 3 times a year, they'd probably be the ones to jump out first when we launch a new shoe or a new watch. And we want them to get it first. We want to incentivize that relationship they bought from us 10 times over the last year. We want to make sure that they know we feel grateful to those people.
It's
So
like I
having
want
that,
to reward your loyalty, right?
yeah.
And
So
that is what
it's like a
relationship
really
is.
powerful thing to know as a customer, like the fact that I come back all the time to buy from you means I get opportunities or discounts or bundles that other people simply don't. I come to the website and my experience is different than that of a
Mm.
person who's brand new because we built this relationship. There are products that are available to me that are not available to other people. Now, there are businesses that work by recurring purchases, right? You don't think about it. You buy one time, you set it up, it comes every single month. And maybe like at the beginning, it's easy enough just to say, sign up now and get 20% off as you stay in this recurring model of purchase. So let's just say like buy one bar of soap, it's $20, but sign up for monthly soap, it's $15, something, whatever that looks like. And there's plenty of options as far as you could do that. And most today there's like easy shopping plugins that literally just one time setup, and that's an opportunity that it just auto charges. Great and fantastic. The thing is that what people don't think about is every month that the user stays on, every additional month that the user stays on that they would not have is an enormous amount of profit to you, right? You didn't have to pay any marketing money. There was no email sent out. There was nothing that the person had to do. The likelihood of the return on month 6 versus month 2 is much higher, much lower rather. And so to do the work so that people stay paying is also really important. So there's actually an app, and I've met quite a few people that work there. It's called Stay.ai. I think it was originally called like something retention or something like that, reactivate or something. I don't exactly remember the name. Stay.ai does exactly this. It asks the question of how do I keep the people happy and paying and staying with me? So for example, if at some point a person says, you know what, I don't want to keep paying, I'm going to leave, I'm going to cancel. So they're going to go to the site and cancel. And for most of the history of online shopping, that was the only option to give them. But what if I said, you probably have been ordering from us for a couple of months now. Maybe you have too many products. Rather than cancel, are you interested in just pausing for 3 months? And we'll just restart again in 3 months. So the issue might be like you just got too much stuff. And so
Right.
now there's an option built in that rather than just cancel, there's a step in between that says, can we just hold off from shipping for you? No additional costs, no penalty, no anything. We'll
Right.
just not ship to you for 3 months or 2 months or 1 month. And then you'll
Sure.
be back where you were. And that solves that problem of like, I just have too many of them. Like
Right.
you
We
had
see this in SaaS
I ordered
tools
too
also.
many paper towel rolls. I don't want another 20 to come to me next month. So that's one option. But then another option is, and I saw this with, again, I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it's Ollie. They sell like gummies for different things. So you have one for hair loss and you have one for whatever it is. And so you order a package of 3 and it comes in like a variety of flavors or whatever, different reasons why you'd be taking these gummies. And so now the question might not be, I want to cancel because I have too many, but rather I have ones I don't want. So
Mm.
you might, in that stage, you might be coming to cancel and it says, rather than cancel, do you want to switch your current multi-pack to 3 of the same or one of, switch out the one you don't like or whatever that is. And it just gives the user the reason to stay longer. I guess stay was a great name for such a business.
Right.
But it just allows the user to say, it's not just either I'm paying or I'm not paying, but rather I'm I'm figuring out how to continue making it work, whether it's changing the product or the frequency of how often it ships or the number of products being sent at a time. Like I signed up originally for 5, but I only need 3 because I'm getting too many or I'm not using it as much as I thought I would, or it lasts longer than I thought it would. And so having a software like that in the back end of your Shopify, especially for companies that are very focused on a recurring model, allows you to be much more flexible with the user to come back and buy again because the value of that customer is so much more than anyone else. They've been paying you potentially for months already, and you haven't had to fight a claimed, issue. You never had to deal with a return with this user unless there was something like significantly wrong. You want to keep these customers as happy as possible because them being happy is the lowest the highest profit margin for your business.
So you actually you touched on something, and I want to keep going on about it. This idea of tools. I mean, there's a lot of tools for retention. Can you name some? And none of this, hey audience, none of this is a paid plug for anybody. This is just from Israel's experience.
One day it could be. Maybe they, if you're interested in sponsoring such a podcast, give Morty a call. He would love to be on phone calls with people. So your question of what tools? The answer is there's so many tools, right? Like even just your email, the number of options to send emails. When I started running email marketing in 2012, there were thousands of options. Like literally, like you type in what's EMS is your email marketing software. You type that into Google and you'll get a list of thousands. And that was a decade ago. You have to imagine just how many players there are in this space now that send email. So the first thing I want to do is make sure I have an email newsletter that's getting sent out frequently because I have their email. The open rate is much higher than an organic Facebook post, and the cost to send an email is relatively cheap, if not free. Just the cost of paying the monthly fee for having the email list, like a Klaviyo or a SendGrid or something like that. There's so many e-commerce emailing softwares. You just have to make sure it does two things. Like at the end of the day, all of the options are going to be able to create funnels. They're going to probably have templates of some sort. You need to make sure if you're a Shopify store that it has a Shopify plugin. And the reason for that is you want to be able to integrate products directly in, so that, just as an example, abandoned cart emails, right? You want to be able to include the product that the user abandoned their cart on. And that's data that your Shopify has, that whatever software you're using better have that software. It needs to be able to integrate with Shopify to tell Shopify they left these products in cart, or these are products that are best sellers, so that you can create a one-time template that just, send users your best-selling products every 3 days after they sign up to the email newsletter. And now I never have to think about that email ever again. It's connected to Shopify. As I go and edit my Shopify landing pages, my collection pages, what's my bestseller product? It updates. I don't have to go back and check to make sure that that's happening. So that's one super, super important tool. The second important tool is that it integrates with Facebook. So as an example, MailChimp does not have a good integration with Facebook. And what that means is that I have to remember every couple of weeks, but like however fast my email list is growing, I have to remember to constantly update the list. I have to download the CSV from MailChimp. I have to go into the back end of Facebook, and I have to upload that list to update what's been changed on MailChimp to continue being able to target my email subscribers. And it's just another thing on a checklist that I shouldn't have to think about, because it exists today, an integration with Facebook, making sure that whoever unsubscribes gets removed. Whoever gets subscribed, they automatically get added. I never have to think about that process that users are getting added or leaving on their own to be able to add them to Facebook's funnel. So that to me is like two really important features on the marketing side that I want to make sure is happening with my EMS. The third one I would add as a bonus is that they keep on top of all these spam changes, right? Like Google's constantly updating how emails get sent in Gmail. Outlook is doing the same thing. Whatever other platform you're using for email, you need to make sure that whatever EMS you're using is doing a good job in updating your records, so that these users are purchasing receiving the emails that you're sending. So that to me is the three important things to look for any email software. I will tell you the biggest name in town is Klaviyo. The biggest issue with Klaviyo is simply their pricing, that they're very, very expensive compared to other options. And there are plenty of other options. So it's just a matter of finding one that works for you as far as price and customer support, and that they do all of these things. And there are so many. Yotpo has one, and SendGrid has one, and ActiveCampaign has one. And it's just a matter of getting on the phone and talking with people and understanding which features might they have that will work better for your business based on the thing that you buy or that you sell. So that was email softwares. is very important. Then, besides email, the next best thing for retention is SMS. Now, I'm very far away from being an expert in SMS marketing. I'm trying to learn more and more, but the data speaks for itself. I don't know the last time I did it to open a text message. Like, I don't know the last time I've had multiple text messages unread in my inbox. The open rate today of an SMS is like over 85%. There does not exist a channel that is just that high of an open rate comparatively to anywhere else. So if you have someone's phone number, not texting them is like a huge lost opportunity. Now, there are text laws in countries that are
Yep.
very different than the spam laws in email. For example, America doesn't really have any spam laws for consumers unless I think the only real thing is like you have to include a button to unsubscribe. That's like really the
Right.
only rule in America, is that you have to have a button and that has to unsubscribe the user. That's literally it for emails. But for SMS, there's a lot of rules around you can only email the person, you can only SMS the person one time from an abandoned cart within 48 hours of the person abandoning the cart. So because of that rule, you have to approach SMS different. On top of that, you can't send 47 pictures in SMS. Like it's just not the layout of an SMS. It doesn't look the same. So you have to approach SMS marketing at least slightly different than email. And because of that, there are different tools. Now, Klaviyo does have an SMS tool. I think even Shopify might have some SMS retargeting plugins that exist. But the companies that are super focused on SMS, like Postscript, like Attentive, like TextCart, there's no vowels in that, very startup-y
Yeah.
name. So these tools are super focused on creating SMS funnels. It might not be as much, the one-time shout like you would send with an email marketing campaign, 10% off, shop now. It might be more focused around having a conversation with the user. Now, for each of these softwares, there's drawbacks and benefits. For example, some of them, it's very hard to get your text message list off. Like I spent all this money collecting phone numbers, and now you're going to hold them at ransom to me that I can't go to somewhere else. Like that's a big problem. And there are some softwares that do that. And then they hide behind like legal reasons why they're doing it. But like, to me, it's a little crazy that I can't go and target and just walk away from this SMS list company. And the other ones are they charge more money or they have less features. So you really have to like go around and look and see what fits right for your business as far as the right SMS tool and how you're planning to use SMS. Like it might be you're already paying for Klaviyo, you already have the list saved in Klaviyo. The amount of work you're planning to do besides like just a single abandoned cart, reminder text might not be that much more. Maybe you don't need a whole tool for SMS, but the tools that are specific to SMS have a lot more features than like the out of the box already in the email list. So that's text messaging ones. Then there's all of these tools on Shopify. The Shopify plugin, world is insane. The number of tools there are. Like I
How
mentioned,
many are there?
Millions, and like every day there's more. And the barrier to making more is even lower because AI can write code now, and you could literally create. You could probably create. But you just imagine like, there's companies that existed like Sumo.com was just a pop-up creator, and back then on WordPress it was a pain in the butt to make pop-ups.
Right.
Now like you can make a pop-up on your website in 3 clicks. So
yeah, that's crazy.
So it's just a matter of understanding like where do I want to be on my website, and how do my customers want to engage with me? Do I need a platform like Stay.ai that has all this versatility and allows me to customize exactly how a person's buying from me again and how often they're getting shipped and what bottles and how big the bottles and how many pills in the bottle, like whatever that thing is, like it just depends on what your business model is.
Right.
If you need such a big extravagant tool or just having like a really basic backend of like cancel, not cancel is enough for, or just like a toggle on off switch, something like that. But as far as like retention tools, at the end of the day, it's going to be your email, your SMS, and whatever the back end of your Shopify that you choose to use, whether that's
Mhm.
Stay or another tool that allows you to continue sending products out to users in the pace that they want to receive the products.
All right, so let's move on to the next topic, okay? I want to talk about some case studies. Azriel, in your experience, you've been doing this for a long time. Have you ever had to help any of your customers with this world of retention? What did you do for them? Let's just pick one, and what were the results?
Yeah, so the first assumption that a business made was that I don't have to talk to the person again; they'll buy if they want. So because of that, we specifically excluded people that had bought ever, like literally uploaded an email list of all previous purchasers and just had never talked to these people again. And I came to them, I said, why are we doing this? Like, well, if they bought, then like they'll buy again. I'm like, do they buy again? Like I asked them, like, is that happening? So maybe like 5% of people were doing, but the average user was not purchasing again. So literally just saying, rather than exclude all purchases, what if we just exclude maybe 30 or 90 days? Just switching the window of repurchase to a shorter window so that if they're going to buy from email or from being seeing the thing in the box or from the SMS marketing that you're doing or from an organic post or something like that, great, let them do it. And we don't have to pay for the ad. But after 30 days, the likelihood of them purchasing on their own is dropped significantly. So you want to make sure that you're retargeting those people. So just the shift within Facebook ads itself is a huge opportunity for just reaching those people that otherwise would be excluded for years and years later because, oh, they bought in 2017. Really? Like you're thinking they're going to buy on their own. They haven't bought since 2017. So like that's step one. And obviously doing that increased the amount of, results by a lot, even though they were previous purchasers, but they weren't someone that bought in the last 3 months, 4 months, whatever the date, the exclusion was. On top of that, as we've discussed a lot, I don't just sit in Ad Manager and contemplate, if I should turn on or off campaigns. I'm also thinking about the business overall. So, as an example, I've worked with companies and said, maybe it's worth, on top of our current funnel, creating a funnel that specifically sends the users to a recurring page. And now, I wouldn't start right off the bat targeting cold users to now go and buy a recurring purchase. But if I have a list of anyone that bought from me in the last 3 years, I can now target them to a landing page that isn't for single purchases, but rather for monthly purchases. And actually, I did this with a nonprofit. I met him. I was working with a nonprofit, and we were running ads for single donations. And I basically asked the question, like, what if we just set it to monthly donations instead of, meaning the landing, obviously, the regular donation page to the regular users would be sending traffic to a single time donation. But what if we ran another ad targeting our warm audiences, optimized for a monthly purchase, a monthly donation? And what that means is that even if you lose money potentially on the first or second donation, in the long run, that person might be giving a donation for a year or
Right.
longer. So we created a special video for that campaign that talked about why you should be donating monthly. We created a special landing page that explained that this is for a monthly donation versus a single donation. So the user's not surprised on month 2 that it's happening. And we created a special ad, like the text of the ad, that it focused on the recurring event, so that they saw the video was specific for how their monthly donation is going to help us over the long run. They saw in the text that they're no surprise we're charging you per month on the website per month, and then any purchase potentially we'd be okay with taking a loss for the first 90 days if it meant that in the long run that user is going to continue paying us in the future. So that's the exact same thing that I would do with an e-commerce business. I would first get a user to buy, build that education and trust, and then I would show them the reasons why, whether it's whatever we talked about, a loyalty program, a discount for ordering more often, some point system that allows them to get more stuff or whatever, to get them to buy. And I would have text like that on my ad. I have a video about why it's worth it that you never have to think about again. Like, Never think about reordering underwear. You just get new underwear every month. They deliver to your door or whatever that is. And so just the benefits. And on the landing page, be very clear. This is no surprise. I don't want you to be confused. We are going to charge your card again in 30 days. Maybe even send an email in 26 days or 25 days. Just so you know, your car's going to be charged in 5 days. I don't want this to be something that's surprising to you. And so these are dramatically helpful for growth in a business. Like we're talking about generating tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of extra dollars from users just by tweaking how I'm targeting them with an ad or the funnel I'm sending them to. The same way we spoke about last podcast about going from individual products to bundles.
Yep.
I would think about this the very same way, is moving people over to a monthly subscription and giving them very clear benefits about why they should do that is a huge opportunity. And it is definitely something that I think a lot about, because it means that my client, my customer, will be making just that much more off of each person that purchases from them.
Totally. Totally. We have a couple more minutes left, so I'm going to ask you just a quick question. And this is just a thought. Maybe you could put two sentences together around this idea. But with so many brands and so many tools and so many ways to get people, basically to get customers, what do you think the future of loyalty and retention is going to look like?
I think that, especially with the growth of AI and the ability to literally like spit out text and videos and slideshow presentations in second code for anything in moments, the ability, what you said, the ability to create an authentic relationship is going to be what matters in the long run. And I was just thinking, like, I just saw a TikTok, maybe it was 2 days ago. This guy bought a pair of shoes, like a very expensive pair of shoes. And he made the order, and it was like, imagine like $500 pairs of shoes, like super like custom made leather, all this stuff. And in the email, they wrote, we want to know that we make these from scratch and it'll take 3 to 5 weeks for it to arrive at your house. And so he wrote back like, I have a wedding in 2 weeks that I need it for. Is there any way that you could get it to me in 2 weeks? And their response was, no, we can't get it to you in 2 weeks. But one, we're going to refund your order. Two, we know that of your deadline. So here are options that we can offer you that can be in your house in 10 days. And for the trouble, we're going to send you that pair for free.
Huh.
So they basically got this guy who was a buyer, right? He was prepared to pay the $200, $300, $400, $500 for the pair of shoes. And they took what was an annoying experience where he wasn't going to get the shoes for a wedding or something, to I'm going to buy every pair of shoes for the rest of my life from this company because of how much they bent backwards for me to give me an experience that wasn't just, here's your refund, good luck finding a pair of shoes.
Wow.
And so that's going to be that's retention. Like that, if you want to know what retention looks like, retention marketing is asking, how do I take that experience that was, and you even asked this question, but I didn't answer, which was, what's the negative, how do I turn a negative experience into a retention experience? It's exactly this. It's taking a refund. It's taking a moment where I'm frustrated as a customer and I'm going, oh, I can't believe I spent all this time. And not only that, I designed the color and exactly the height and all this stuff about it. And now you're telling me you can't even get it to me in time for the thing I need it for. And to turn that negative experience to, wow, this is the greatest shoe company on earth. I'm going to tell all my friends. And what did he do? He literally made a TikTok and a stranger saw it and now knows about that experience. I can't tell you the name of the shoe brand, so I guess it didn't work that much. But you could imagine how many times he told that story to his friend, right? And
Amazing.
so that's what you want to do. You want to create those experiences. And that's, to me, what the future of retention is going to look like. It's not going to be like, of course, you need to have as much automation as possible. You have to have your softwares to send out emails, but maybe sometimes it's worth it to say, hey, Beatrice, she buys every year on her birthday, and this year she didn't order. What if we just send her something in the mail, right? Like, what if we just send her something in the mail? Like, she wasn't expecting it, she didn't order it, and now, like, that's gonna keep a story. That's not just gonna be the person that comes back to buy again. That's gonna be the person that tells all their friends, like, can you believe it? Like
Wow.
that store, they knew it was my birthday. They sent me a free dress in the mail, and they know my style because they know what I bought.
Amazing. And
And
that
what does it
really is
cost you to send
relationship.
one product? Like now, obviously, it doesn't have to be that crazy. It could just be an email. It could just be a phone call. It could just be something. But just that level of personal touch is really what's gonna allow you as the company to continue getting customers to want to come back and swiping their credit card for years to come.
Let's summarize. We spoke about retention, why it's important. We spoke about some of the amazing tools. We spoke about strategies. We spoke about some case studies of actual experiences that Israel's had. And I think the summary of this entire thing is retention equals relationship. If you're an e-commerce brand, that is something that you need to be taking extremely seriously. It's not just about the metrics, it's this idea of meeting the customer and creating that experience for them that they'll want to come back. We'd love to hear your
Absolutely.
thoughts, everybody who was here. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. What strategies have worked for you in retaining customers? Here at Ratspack Media, we care all about our clients getting their retention numbers up to 1 billion. Amen. Thank you all for listening, everyone. We'll see you on the next one.
Have a good one.